How are you doing, Mark?
I am super. Now, before we get into Phil and at least a couple of other things that you keep track of at your website in the wonderful world of Twitchy and all that good stuff, you are in town. You are coming to town for something that the public can attend on Monday, January 6th. It's at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, which I love. It is the Richardson Republican Club, I think, doing this, and I love them. And you are coming on behalf of Katrina Pierson, challenging Pete Sessions in 32.
That's right. She is a very, very special friend of mine and a friend of liberty and a friend of America. And she is challenging Pete Sessions in the 32nd Congressional District there. I think that this is one of those pivotal moments in the grassroots conservative and constitutional movement because you see this story being played out across the country, Mark, where you've got GOP elitists who think that they can control and dictate who runs for office and who holds office. And I've always said, particularly in those nascent days of the Tea Party, that entrenched incumbency is the disease and fresh conservative blood is the cure. And Katrina represents that, of course. She was at the vanguard of the Tea Party movement. She's got this energy, this passion, this charisma, and this core commitment to conservative values. And really, if not now, when?
It is the Richardson Republican Women's Club doing this, and you can learn all about it. It's Michelle's appearance at a fundraiser for Katrina. Learn about it at katrinaforcongress.com, katrinaforcongress.com. Let me step back and do a little big picture on this because this dichotomy between people who have been there a while, establishment folks, and newer Tea Party types, it all played out in the budget deal. What was the lens through which you saw the entire budget deal? We all have a base coat of love for Paul Ryan. He's a genius in a lot of ways. But, God, what an under-impressive deal they came up with.
Well, not just underwhelming, but disappointing and a betrayal. And part of that same narrative of how voters across the country who are sick and tired of beltway-itis get disappointed time and time again by these people, like Paul Ryan, who forget why they were sent there in the first place. Now, if, of course, you were paying much more attention, and I was, and I know that conservatives across the country were, this is not a surprise. Paul Ryan voted for TARP, just like Pete Sessions did. These are big government Republicans who know how to talk the talk of limited government conservatism, but then contract that disease when they get to D.C. and the swamp. And people are sick and tired of that. And the lens through which I see the budget is the same lens that I see this race through, that you can do better, that you don't have to settle. And this narrative of again and again and again of these big government Republicans capitulating to progressives and voting again and again and again, like Pete Sessions did, to raise the debt ceiling, it doesn't have to be that way.
When we take a look at 2014 and a lot of folks running for the Senate and a lot of, well, let me ask you this while we've got you on the phone in Texas, do you view Cornyn in the same way?
Absolutely, I do. and I've said a lot of nice things about John Cornyn over the years, but at some point, it's enough. A decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, and certainly the GOP elitist standard bearer in that regard, the entrenched incumbent who just won't go away, John McCain, has been a model for so many of these other Republicans who really should follow the example of the first founding father and our first president, George Washington, and know when to go home and do something else and let other people take over.
The notion of the citizen legislator. The great Michelle Malkin is with us. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, yes, whatever happened to that?
Yeah, indeed. The power just became such a narcotic that folks don't tend to willfully give it up.